So, have you ever stopped to think about what happens to all the digital stuff we create? I mean, every photo, every document, all that research. In a world that's pretty much built on data, how do we stop our collective memory from just vanishing? Well, today we're going to dive into the OAIS framework. It's the essential blueprint for saving our digital universe. Think about it for a second. We hit the save button 1,000 times a day, and we just kind of assume it means forever. But what happens when it's not? What happens when that super important file from 10 years ago is suddenly just unreadable? That's the ticking clock we're all up against in this digital age.
You know, this whole threat actually has a name, the digital dark age. And it's a very real risk that our digital creations, our history, and our knowledge could become totally inaccessible, basically lost to future generations because of something called digital obsolescence.
So what does this digital decay even look like in the real world? Well, for starters, file formats just become obsolete. Try opening a document you wrote back in college or a photo from some ancient phone. The software that made them might not even exist anymore, and poof, the file is completely unreadable.
And it's not just the software, right? The hardware becomes obsolete too. I mean, do you still have a floppy disk drive? Or a zip drive? Yeah, didn't think so. The physical things we store data on, and the machines we need to read them, they basically become museum pieces, locking that data away for good.
But honestly, the biggest threat might just be losing context. A spreadsheet full of numbers is just noise if you don't know what those numbers actually mean. That crucial information around the data, the metadata, that's the key. Without it, the data is just an unsolvable puzzle.
Okay, so how in the world do we fight back against this digital dark age? We need a plan, a solid one. And that plan, that blueprint for preservation, is called the OAIS reference model. So, OAIS stands for Open Archival Information System. And what's really important to get here is that this isn't some piece of software you can just download. No, it's a conceptual framework, a shared set of rules for how to preserve digital information. It was actually developed to protect priceless data from space missions, but now it's become the global standard for making sure our digital stuff survives for generations.
All right, so how does this thing actually work? Well, OAIS gives us a really structured path for managing a digital object, from the second it's created to the day a user needs it, which could be decades or even centuries later.
At the very heart of OAIS is this idea of information packages. Every single piece of data goes on a three-stage journey. It starts its life as a SIP, a Submission Information Package, when it's first handed over to the archive. Then, the archive works its magic and turns it into an AIP, an Archival Information Package for safe, long-term storage. And finally, when someone needs that data, it's delivered as a DIP, a Dissemination Information Package.
The real magic here, the secret sauce, is the AIP. Think of it as the ultimate digital time capsule. It's so much more than just the file itself. The AIP bundles together everything you would ever need to make that file understandable and usable way into the future. Its format, where it came from, its context, literally everything you need to open it 100 years from now.
The framework is also super smart because it defines three really clear roles to make all this work. You've got the producer, that's the person or group creating the data. Then there's the archive, the organization that's in charge of preserving it for the long haul. And finally, the consumer, that's you, me, the end user who accesses the data. This clarity is absolutely vital for a preservation system that actually works. Now, the engine that drives this entire process, it's metadata. Data about the data. OAIS relies on four crucial types. Descriptive metadata tells us, hey, what is this thing? Administrative metadata answers, how is it managed? Preservation metadata explains, how do we keep this thing usable? And last but not least, authenticity metadata confirms, can we actually trust this? Without all this rich metadata, our digital time capsule would be locked up forever.
So this isn't just some theory, OAIS is being used every single day out in the real world. And for anyone who's studying library and information science, understanding this framework isn't just kind of helpful. It is absolutely essential.
And its use is incredibly widespread. We're talking about academic institutions preserving vital research, government agencies protecting public records, cultural institutions safeguarding our heritage, even healthcare organizations that manage critical medical data. It's really a foundational piece of our entire information landscape. So let me just be really direct here.
If you are a student of library and information science, or you're even just thinking about it, OAIS is your essential toolkit for the future. You are going to be the architects and the custodians of our digital memory. And this framework, this is your blueprint.
And we're not talking about some niche standard here. This is trusted by the world's leading institutions. I mean, we're talking NASA, the Library of Congress, the UK's National Archives, the Smithsonian, the list just goes on and on. This is the gold standard for digital preservation, period.
All right, so let's bring this all together. The core takeaway is this. OAIS gives us the structure we need to actively preserve our digital future, instead of just passively watching it fade away.
And it does this through a few key objectives, making sure digital content is preserved for the long term, maintaining the integrity and authenticity of the data, guaranteeing that information is accessible no matter how technology changes, and setting up those clear roles we talked about for everyone involved.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought. OAIS provides the blueprint, right? The master plan for preserving our collective digital memory. So the question now is, who's going to be the architects of our digital future? And for a lot of you watching, the answer is you.